saha nāvavatu, saha bhunaktu, saha viryam karavavahai, tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May we be nourished, may we be protected, may we do brave work, may our work be glorious, may there be no conflict among us, may there be peace, peace, peace. Welcome everyone. I will put my phone on do not disturb, and quickly, can somebody just give me a confirmation if they can hear and see me well? Okay, thank you. So we have been discussing different limbs of ashtanga yoga or raja yoga or Patanjali yoga, right? Or whatever popularly today is known as yoga, hatha yoga. We have been discussing different limbs of it. What we have discussed so far is yama, niyama, asana and pranayama. Yama is basically moral conduct, social conduct. Niyam is personal conduct. Asana is how your posture should be, and pranayama is how your breathing should be. That we have discussed. Pranayama is much more than what we have already discussed. Actually, the prana is also indicates life, and prana vayu is the air that we breathe, which contains life. It is further divided into 5 categories based on its physiological functions inside the body. So the breathing, the part of prana that governs the physiological function of respiration, is called prana. Then there is something called samana, which takes care of the digestive process. Then something is there is a third kind of prana which is called apana, which takes care of all kind of removal of waste from the body. Then there is udana, which takes care of all the reverse processes like sneezing, hiccup, and it also takes care of our thoughts, how we think. If we have control over udana, we can think in a particular way, our intelligence. So it resides on the upper part of our body. And then the 5th one is samana, which flows all around our body, all across our body, and helps in circulation of blood. This is the division based on the physiological function. But we will try to discuss something different today, instead of going further in Raja Yoga. We will try to understand where all of this sit in the larger context. If you have been part of this server for longer, then you might have seen me discussing that there are 4 different kinds of yoga. Most of the time I write this in response to whoever asks, what kind of yoga do you do? And I then start explaining all this. But essentially it is important to understand for understanding other people's perspective. Why it is important to understand these 4 different types of yoga, where we sit with Raj Yoga in the whole bigger picture. Because ultimately what we want to do is we want to increase compassion for everybody in our hearts. So without understanding the different dimensions of spiritual practices, we cannot appreciate everybody, right? We can say that, okay, I appreciate your thought, I appreciate your practice superficially, but then you cannot really encourage that person to continue and keep improving on their path. So if that person ever happens to have a deeper discussion with you, you will eventually end up proving that, okay, your method, I appreciate, but there is some fault in your method. So that is not real appreciation, right? You are just trying to please that person. A person who really appreciates someone knows in and out about what he is doing, why he is doing, and then from that standpoint, he can truly appreciate something. So we'll see what are the different ways. First thing is, what is yoga? Yoga is union. Yoga is union. Now, what this union indicates, what is this union? This is the union of our conscious and unconscious. When this union happens, that is where something called superconscious is accessed, right? So this is one aspect of understanding yoga. Another way of understanding from a different lens is yoga is union of the soul and the divine. Now, soul is considered the individual life energy and divine is considered the universal life energy. That is another way of understanding. But whatever this is basically what this indicates is striving to become something larger than ourselves. What is spirituality actually? If I go in that route, spirituality, the word itself, I'm not talking about the word itself because it comes down from the philosophy of spirits and having a communion with the spirit. But the word that we use in India is called adhyatma. And the word adhyatma is loosely translated into spirituality. And the word adhyatma basically means trying to become something more than the self. The word adhyatma breaks into two parts, adhi, atma. And when these two words combine, then the word adhyatma is formed. Adhi means superior. So you might have heard, if somebody who speaks Hindi, they might have heard Raja Adhiraj. The word Adhi in that Raja Adhiraj is to indicate the king of the kings, supreme king, right? So similarly, the word Adhi in Adhyatma means the greater Atma, self, greater self. So what is this greater self? What are we trying to achieve through Adhyatma, through spirituality? To achieve our greater self, which is the divine itself. We are trying to become divine. We are trying to become one with the divine. When that unity is there, then you don't see that who is divine and who is not. So this is the real self that we are trying to achieve. That is the real meaning of the Hindi word Adhyatma. And this union is what yoga teaches. Now, there are many different kinds of people on this planet. And you cannot ever say that there is one path that is going to work for all of these people. Because I was having this conversation with Ronald some time back that why can't we have a global ethics? Some ethical laws that globally everybody should follow. And the reason is that everybody is unique. If we try to impose one law or one set of rule on every individual on this planet, then at the end what we are doing is we are not appreciating the uniqueness. And this is in itself a kind of violence, not appreciating the uniqueness of individual. So broadly, what our ancient sages did is they divided the whole practice into 4 different categories. That depending on which kind of inclination you have, you can choose one kind of practice. Some people are very emotional being. So example of emotional being, if you don't know what an emotional being is, just look at your mother. Everybody will have one. I mean, they may not be with you, but you know what the feeling of a mother is. So she doesn't care what is going to be the outcome of something. If a bus is rolling towards her child, she will not think twice and jump before that bus to save her child. That is not an action which is done by the help of intellect. That is something completely driven by emotion. That is what is called an emotional being. So even if somebody is not a mother, somebody is not a father, still people can have that kind of strong emotion inside of them, and then they cannot follow things which they emotionally do not align with. If you give them certain practices, okay, sit for 10 minutes in so and so position and watch your thoughts, doesn't work for them. But if you tell them, okay, feel this emotion within yourself, then it works for them. So there are different kinds of people. First one is emotional being. So for them, the path that was given to them was the path of devotion. You intensify emotion that you have in your heart to an extent that whoever you are having that emotion towards, there should not be any separation between that and you. That kind of union is achieved through the power of devotion. Devotion is ultimately love in its purest form. Then the second kind of people are very logical. Today, most of us think of ourselves as very logical, and we also strive very hard to prove ourselves logical, but not a lot of us are that logical actually. Still, because we find that kind of inclination, we can take a look at the path of knowledge. What happens most of the time on this server, wherever this server is basically a medium to exchange thoughts and opinions and informations, facts. What are facts? Facts are opinions which are backed up by some reasoning, right? Whether it be reasoning, logical reasoning, or by experimental reasoning, whatever. But those are also opinions which are accepted by masses. So it becomes a fact. So most of the time on this server, what is happening is trying to find the truth by reasoning. That is the attempt to achieve union through knowledge. That is jnana yoga. The first one was yoga or union by devotion. That is bhakti yoga. Second is by trying to reason your way to the truth. That is jnana yoga. Third one is what we are doing now. Not now, actually, what we have been discussing so far in this series is the proper technique of meditation, the proper technique of concentration, the proper technique of sitting, right? How your body should be aligned, so that energies in your body flow without interruption when you are meditating. So this whole technique has been divided into 8 different parts, and that's why it is taking us so much of time to discuss this whole path of Raja Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga. So in this particular method, technique is very important. How you are going to perform the thing. This is called Raja Yoga. And the fourth one is called Karma Yoga, where action is very important. How you are going to execute any action. What should be the intention behind it? What should be the way that you indulge in the action? That is a very, I would say, the smallest of the philosophies in all of this. But it does include some of the very popular topics like the law of karma, how your action impacts you and how it creates your future, and how you can be in any situation and yet take the right decision and have the right attitude towards action that you are going to perform. So all of these 4 are very popular, but all of these are popular in parts. If you talk to any person who is on the path of yoga or on the path of liberation through knowledge, via reasoning their way to the truth. If you ask them, what is more important, logic or love? Because they have read so much, because they have discussed so much, they will immediately say love. And then there is a whole separate path which is called Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion. They will, at the same time, they will discard also that, okay, this is not something which is the supreme, this is the supreme. Where is love then? Love is something that you have just mentally understood. So today, what we are going to do is, after this, all this basic overview of the 4 types of yoga, let's look a little bit about Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion. What is it? So, what is devotion? Devotion is essentially love in its supreme form. Devotion is when you love something to the extent that you are able to sacrifice everything for the sake of it. That is what is devotion. How do you get to that place? How do you get to that place? How can you love something that dearly that you can give up everything? You can even give up your own identity. We say that there is, when we discuss so much things on the channel, we talk about ego death, we talk about dissolution of self. Even Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion, is talking about the same thing. You be devoted to the cause to such an extent that even yourself is dissolved. Even you can let go of yourself for reaching to that point. It is also talking about that unity. It is also talking about the oneness, but from a different path, a different way of approaching that oneness. But how can you do that? So we also know that, okay, the concept of God also is important to tell here, because what can you be devoted to? Some people can be devoted towards money, some people can be devoted towards knowledge, some people can be devoted towards a relationship. But will it last? Will it give lasting happiness? The answer is no, because everything has a duration attached to it, during which it becomes, it is accessible to us, and then it again dissolves. So everything in this world goes through the process of creation, existence, and dissolution. And as long as it is in the middle phase where you can actually access it, that's where you get attached to it, and then when it goes away, then again the suffering starts. So in all of this transitory world, what is that one thing, if we can devote ourselves to, will stay permanent, will stay intact, obviously throughout our life, but beyond also, so that it never becomes a cause of grief, because it is permanent. It is as it is. As we approached it the first day we thought of it, it is today also in the same exact form. That's where the concept of God comes in, not the gods, because let's say start with the basic idea. Concept of God. Concept of God is very simple. It is something which is controlling everything. Now you may say nothing is controlling everything, but you have to acknowledge that anything that we do, anything that we achieve, has many other factors always associated with it, which are not in our control. So what I'm saying is, this X, suppose this X that is controlling everything, when I say X controls everything, is basically the sum total of all those unknown factors that give rise to anything that becomes major cause for existence or any effect to take place. And because it is something beyond our control, it is generally accepted as something higher. You can say it is also at our own level because of interdependence theory, that I am as important as any other factor. That is also true. You are as important as, but your own existence is also not completely independent of all these factors. So at the end of the day, it is something that is not your control, which is giving rise to everything that is happening. This is going a little bit deep, probably. Just stop me if you have any doubt anywhere, right? but I am taking a very huge topic and trying to collapse it down so that we can cover it in very limited time, right? So that is one thing. So when we discussed about niyama, the second aspect of yoga, there we discussed 5 different parts of it: shauch, cleanliness, the contentment, shauch, santosh, and then self-study, and austerity, tapas, and final one was Ishvara pranidhan, the surrender to God or surrender to some supreme, or surrender to, or you can say acceptance of other factors that run our life. It is said in Yoga Sutra also. The Yoga Sutra, Patanjali Yoga Sutra, is a book which belongs to the Raj Yoga way of approaching liberation. But still, that book also accepts that the fastest way to reach liberation is Ishvara pranidhan, devotion. It is very strange. People may think, okay, why this? Then what is the point of having this? This is the point of having it is somebody has inclination towards technique so that they also have something to progress. But at the end of the day, devotion is considered superior. Even somebody who is on the path of knowledge will accept that ultimately love is the supreme. If you have love in your heart, then everything else automatically falls in place. What is that love? That is devotion. But who do you devote yourself to? Now the concept of God is very strange. We discussed that we understand that there are causes, multiple causes that come together and finally take effect. Finally, any result that whenever we act, finally any result that comes is not just dependent on our action, but multiple causes actually make it up. Similarly, even if you start investigating something very deeply, you may start with the physical form, and then you may go into the attributes of that object, like we do in our meditation. Anything we take up as our meditation object, we begin with very gross level of understanding of that object. Say for example, this mobile phone. This is a very modern example to meditate on, but this mobile phone. We start with thinking about the mobile phone. Okay, this has this shape, this form, and then we may go about this form and shape is something very gross, which we can touch, we can experience, right? And then we can move on to its attributes. Okay, it helps us to connect with people far. This helps me to collect information that is available globally. These are a little subtler aspect of it, which we cannot even touch. We can just experience this, right? Then we go further into this, and then we understand that, but though the functions are different, but it is eventually made up of atoms and molecules. These molecules may also be different depending on which compound is used for creating a particular part of this device. But even those molecules are made up of atoms. Those atoms may also be different from each other, but then those atoms are also built by electron, proton, neutron. And electron, proton, neutron are same in all the atoms. The count differs, but they are essentially the same. But this electron, proton, neutron are different within them. Electron is not proton, proton is not neutron. They have different qualities. One has negative charge, another has positive charge, third one has no charge. There also still we see the world, the existence, duality, right? But then we go further. Okay, this has quarks, up quarks and down quarks, right? And then we also see that even quarks have differences. There are two kinds of quarks, up quark and down quark. Then we go further and we keep going, and ultimately at some point we reach to understand that essentially there is no difference. So that is what I don't know how far the modern science has gone into, but if you take the Buddhist understanding, they also ultimately reach to emptiness. That there is no real self, there is no defining feature, but that defining feature comes from the aggregates, from the coagulation of different things. Ultimately, in the center, there is nothing. And similarly, in Indian culture, when we deep dive with this kind of meditation, I am doing this is mobile inquiry, but you can do it on your own, and then it will be called self-inquiry, right? So what are you? Are you thoughts? Are you knowledge? Are you emotions? And then you keep tearing it apart and until you see what is at the core of it. So our approach is to see positive. So we just, instead of saying emptiness, we said it is wholeness. Why we say wholeness? Because we believe that something cannot come out of nothing. See, this may be a little controversial here, but try to understand this is not for the purpose of contrasting two faith. This is for the purpose of explaining the connection or explaining the unifying factor between the faiths. So we understand that fullness and nothingness are no different. And because everything comes out of this nothingness is also fullness in itself. So this is the situation of a glass half full or half empty. One can say that the glass is half empty, other can say the glass is half full. None of those are actually wrong. It is a way of looking at the thing. Both are right in there. And that fullness, which is at the core of everything, because of which everything exists, that fullness is what we call Brahman, the supreme reality. So if I take any object, if I take myself, I will eventually reach to that Brahman. If I meditate enough on myself, if I logically think about who am I and try to find the answer of every question and everything that I see, if I question that thing also, then eventually it will lead me to the understanding that at the core of it is Brahman, is that fullness or that emptiness, right? This is the concept of God. This is what God is. Essentially, this is what God is. So, now the question arises, if this is God, what are its attributes? It has no attributes. It has no form. It has no gender. So, generally we say, when we talk about gods, most of the time we tend to use he, she, right? It has no gender as well. It just is. It is beyond qualities, beyond forms. And in Indian context, it is called beyond form, so nirakar, and beyond qualities is called nirgun. So Brahman is nirgun nirakar, the base of everything, the substratum on which everything exists. When I say on which everything exists, it does not mean it is like a bed or something, right? On it everything exists means at the core of everything that one thing resides. And that is why, if you see, in Indian culture, everything is worshipped. Somebody throws a piece of paper on the ground, we pick it up, we keep it in the right place, and then we do this. Have you seen this gesture? This is the way, this is a shorthand way of doing this same thing, exactly. So we are saying that heart, which is the seat of love, devotion, and mind, which is the seat of, not the mind, the brain. When we do this gesture, we are saying that through our intellect and through our devotion, we recognize the divine in this particular piece of paper. We worship, in Indian context, you see people worshipping trees also, people worshipping cow, any animal. Everything is worshipped. Because we know that everything has at the core that same emptiness or that same fullness or that same Brahman. That is how you can have one understanding of what is that which will never change and to which you can always stay devoted to, and you will never be exposed to any cause of sorrow. If you put your faith in something that is always at the core of everything, then you are always surrounded by that. You always experience divine around you. You always see everything with the sense of gratefulness, right? That is one way. That is the way of devotion to achieve unity. It is a very fast way. It is very effective way if you can develop that eye. But the problem here is a lot of people cannot actually think of anything which is formless and attributeless. Have you seen anything in this world which has no form and no attribute? No. So for a lot of people, it becomes very difficult to understand this. How can I even if I want to think of something which has no form and no attribute, what do I think of? That's when the ancient sages said, okay, I will make it a little bit easier for you. There is something called Ishvara, which we will call God. And the Ishvara has no form, but it has qualities. So what did ancient sages did? What did ancient sages do? They brought the concept, a very vague, a very ungraspable concept of Brahman, to a little understandable and graspable level, and they called it Ishvara. They are same. Brahman and Ishvara are actually same, but from the context of the person who cannot grasp something which has no attribute, which has no form, for them, they can actually understand it in the form of Ishvara, which has no form, but it has qualities. Now you may ask, what is the quality? What are the qualities that Ishvara have? Ishvara have one quality only: to create, sustain and dissolve the universe. That is what the job of Ishvara is. So when we see anything now, if you cannot grasp the concept of Brahman, you can grasp the concept of Ishvara. Anything you look around, it will remind you of Ishvara. Okay, this thing exists, means there is somebody who is creator. Okay, even if it is a chair, I know that the creator would be a person, but for the person there is a creator. Who created that person? Then the chain goes and goes, and then you go to, if you go whatever way, if you directly, you can from a person go to Ishvara by saying that because the existence of life is possible, that's why this person also exists, and the existence of life is possible because of Ishvara. He is the creator, supporter and dissolver of this creation. That's how you remember, you seek Ishvara in everything. That is also one way of achieving unity. It is not exactly the same as having unity with the Brahman, but it is one step, you can say it is one step farther from that level of unity when you really understand what is Brahman, but still you are much farther from normal lay people. At least everywhere you look, you are seeing the divine. Everywhere you look, you have that feeling of presence of a supreme power with you. Your intentions, your motivations are always pure with that understanding. That is Ishvara. But now, even with these qualities, a lot of people will have problem. Oh, this does not have any form. How do I? Because a lot of people are actually visual people. They want to see things. A lot of people who are in design, or a lot of people who paint, a lot of people who do sketches are mainly visual people. They want to see things, then only they believe it. Or even if they don't see, they want to create a form out of it. People who are sculpture, right? Sculpture who creates carvings and all. Today in fact, if you see, a lot of people are visual people, because earlier, when internet was slow, we used to read blog posts, we used to read articles, we used to read newspaper. But as internet became faster and faster, more and more people are actually enjoying video content, right? Because most of the people are visual people. They want to see also. But Ishvara has no form. How do they feel that connection with Ishvara when there is no form? That's where the third level comes, which we call Bhagavan. Bhagavan has form and has qualities. And this is where that whole thing comes in, where we say that in Indian culture, there are so many different gods. What are the so many different gods? This is Ishvara. So first, on the top, if you have understood this far, on the top is Brahman, which all of us are trying to get to through all the four means of yoga. Either it be Raja Yoga, the Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, or Karma Yoga. This is the goal, Brahman, which has no qualities, no form, which is the core of every existence. You call it anything, fullness, emptiness, whatever. Because it has no quality, you cannot restrict it to anything. So this is the goal. But those who want to feel that connection with that personal connect with that Supreme, those who are on the path of Bhakti Yoga, this is for one, it is brought down to Ishvara, where it has no form but qualities. But even those who want to do Bhakti and they are not able to understand this concept also, it is brought even further down, and we say, take any quality of God that you want. Okay? Take any quality of God that you want. For example, we said Ishvara has three qualities: generation, sustenance, and destruction. Take any quality. Suppose you take creation and then create a form that signifies that quality. And then that is your Bhagavan. It has a form now, and the form is created in such a way that it represents that quality. Sustainer, you take that and create a form that signifies that. Destruction, you take that one quality and then you create a form that signifies exactly that one attribute. Then that is Bhagavan. That's where so many different kinds of iconography, symbolism, every single god you will see, they have like mostly 3 arms, 4 arms, and every arm is holding some object. All this iconography, all this symbolism, somebody has a snake on the neck, somebody is holding a kind of weapon, somebody has a particular animal with him all the time. All this symbolism has meaning, hidden meanings inside of it. So when now this devotee, now this person who is trying to achieve union, now when he looks at this form, just looking at that form, he is reminded of all the qualities that he has to inculcate in himself. That is the remembrance. Now this is how they feel personal connect with these people. This we can't say those people, this is Bhagavan. So with the Supreme, this is how they feel that connect. When you go to a temple, when you look at the deity, the smiling face, even the attributes of the face, some divine forms have 3 eyes, some divine forms has 4 heads. All of these signify very important things which is known to the people who actually worship those forms. What do I mean by worship? That also, I am going way beyond time. So I will quickly wrap this up. Maybe we can pick this up from here in the next session. We also have to do our 20 minutes of meditation, but this is Bhagavan. But this Bhagavan is also something which is not accessible to most of the people. Why? Because it is a form that people has iconography associated with it, but those who do not understand this symbolism will not be able to appreciate the form. Those who understand will be able to appreciate. Those who understand the symbolism, even if they close the eyes, they are not looking at anything. If they close the eyes, because they know each attribute associated with that form, they can build the exact same iconography in their head. That is the power of symbolism. But a lot of people even can't do this. They don't have that kind of imagination power. They don't know that kind of symbolism and the hidden meaning behind all this symbolism and the attributes of the divine. So what happens? Sometimes divine incarnates in human body on this planet. What do I mean by that? It can be understood in both the ways. It can be understood as the divine himself takes birth in the form of a man or a woman, or it can be understood as a normal human being, sometimes through the power of meditation, through the power of yoga, through the power of devotion or karma, gets to a point where there is no distinction between him or her and the divine. So that is then called avatar. So in the tradition, we understand that there are more than so generally we understand like there are 10 incarnations or avatar of Lord Vishnu, but if you see Bhagavad Mahapuran, then there are 24 different incarnations of Vishnu which are attributed. So the importance of this fourth level of divine incarnation is that now everybody can see, everybody can touch, everybody can talk to that, whoever is living at that age and time, right, when that incarnation happens. And you don't also have to rely on any iconography, no philosophy, no symbolism. Everything is shown right then and there through the work, through the actions, through the life. If you just read the biography or the life events of these incarnations, you will have so much to learn in your, and so much you can just remembering the pastimes. We call it pastimes, Leela. Just remembering the life of that incarnation and what all he had to go through and how he dealt with all of this situation, it teaches us so many things. And that is one way to get to that union, starting from there. So Brahman, Ishvara, Bhagavan and Avatar. Brahman, you can say Brahman, there is no other word that can be equivalent. I can put there, but Ishvara is loosely translated as God. That is one. God is one. So Ishvara is also one. There is no separation there. And then there is Bhagavan. So that can be loosely translated to deities. There can be thousands and thousands of deities. God is one, deities are many. And then there is incarnation, avatar. So that also can be many, depending on whenever it is required. In Gita, Bhagavan says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutthanam dharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So he says that wherever there is decline of dharma, then I take form, then I incarnate. So that is a lot of discussion about what is bhakti. I actually have not yet reached to some of the important parts of the practices of bhakti, which we will talk about in the next session. But today we will quickly start our meditation. I will put a timer for 20 minutes. And what we will do today is we will again go back to our mantra, soham. So as you inhale, in your mind, you listen to the word so, as if you listen to this sound in your mind. You don't have to speak, you don't have to even just the breath, the sound of the breath. You just have to imagine that it is making the sound so, and as you exhale, you have to imagine that it is making the sound hum. So hum. So one thing that we will change in this approach today, based on our understanding so far from the last session. In the last session, we understood what is yogic breathing, how a proper breathing should be. And one of the attributes of proper breathing is that it has to be continuous. Continuous inhale and continuous exhale. comfortably, you have to inhale continuously and exhale continuously without any gap between inhalation and exhalation, without any gap between exhalation and inhalation. So we will now implement that understanding in today's practice. Okay, so when we will inhale and try to listen the word sound so, we will try to elongate that sound in our head as long as the inhalation is on, and as soon as inhalation changes to exhalation, we start the word hum, and we will continue the hum also as long as the exhalation is in progress. So now if my hand indicates the process of inhalation and exhalation, then it should go something like so hum, so hum, something like that. So there is no gap, nothing like so hum. So it will not be like that. We will make it continuous. So I am speaking very feebly, so you might not be able to hear, so I will speak a little louder, so it will go a little bit like so hum, so hum, so that sound will continue in our head until the exhalation is there, and then hum will continue until the exhalation is still in progress. Is that understood? That that is the minor change that we are going to do in today's practice. Okay, and inside your head you don't have to follow any rhythm or anything like that. You just pay attention to your breathing, and your breathing will obviously not be millisecond long, it will be at least 1 second long, right? So you have to continue this sound in your head, and don't try to imagine my sound there. It's because I tried to show you by extending the sound, so that variation in the pitch is not something that you have to imitate. Just comfortably, very feeble sound you have to imagine in your head. So as you inhale, hum as you exhale. Okay, I think this much explanation should be enough, and we will quickly begin. So make yourself comfortable. Rock yourself forward and backward, sideways, to find your comfortable position. Proper stacking of your spine so that you can sit comfortably for 20 minutes. Put your hands on your lap. And if you wear specs, you can remove specs at this point. Close your eyes. We'll take a couple of deep breaths. Inhale. And exhale. Pay attention to the movement of your belly while you inhale and exhale. And one last time, inhale and exhale. Allow your breathing to go back to its normal course. Keep your attention on your belly. As you inhale, the belly moves ever so slightly outwards. And as you exhale, it goes back in. Pay attention to your breathing. And how with each inhale the belly moves slightly outwards, and with each exhale it moves back in. Our heart is the seat of emotion. Pay attention to your heart. Experience the presence of divine. Whether you call it divine or you call it by any other name, experience the presence of the essence of this whole existence in your heart. That essence is not different in you, in me, or in any other thing. When you are ready, with inhale, listen to the sound so as long as the inhalation is on. And with exhale, the sound hum. Hear to these sounds elongated to the full length of inhalation and exhalation. Your body may try to make its own adjustments. Allow it to be. Keep your attention on your inhalation and exhalation and listening to the sound so, hum. If you are distracted by thoughts, it's okay. Return back to your breathing, and with inhale, listen to the sound so, and with exhale, listen to the sound hum. As soon as you catch that you are distracted by thoughts, gently return back to your breathing. As inhalation seamlessly turn into exhalation and exhalation seamlessly turn into inhalation, so seamlessly turns into hum, hum seamlessly turns into so. Carefully watch your natural breath going from hum, so to hum. Om sarve bhavantu sukhinaḥ, sarve santu niramayaः, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaśyit dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May the merits of our practice be shared by all. May all be happy. May all be healthy. May all see good. May nobody ever suffer. May there be peace, peace, peace. Put your palm together, rub them against each other, and cup your eyes. Slowly open your eyes. Okay. Okay. Yeah, at this point, if anyone wants to share any of their experiences, ask any question, how did you feel during the meditation, anything, they can raise their hand, they can type in the chat, they can join me on the stage. Okay, so Coco says that was wonderful, thank you. Paramita says thank you. How do I pronounce this name? I'm not sure, but I will pronounce the first part. Trouble says very relaxing and connected. Thank you everyone. And yes, I see a hand raised, but then that hand, okay, I will invite you to speak. Yes.
Wait, are you hearing me?
Yes, we all can hear you.
Okay, so I have a question. And I just wanted to speak instead of typing. What's the difference between Avatar and Bhagavan?
So, Bhagavan is a form that is not available for everyone to see. We see the form of Bhagavan in the form of idols, right? We carve idols and create idols just so that people can know what is the form and that form conveys the symbolism associated with the Bhagavan. Without the idol, without a picture, that form of Bhagavan is not accessible to all. Only some people who have meditated for a very, very long time can actually sit and close their eyes and see that form. That is how the form of Bhagavan is, not accessible to everyone. But avatar, that form is accessible to everyone. Whoever was at that time present on the planet, when Sri Krishna took that incarnation, everybody, whether they are good, whether they are bad, they all were able to see the form. And also the symbolism and hidden meanings, there you don't have to even think about symbolism and hidden meaning. For the most part, their life and whatever they did during their life, that itself guides us all the way to liberation. So if you see the life of Sri Krishna, at the end he also gave us Bhagavad Gita, where he directly taught what is right, what is wrong, what is the way, what is the course of action, how we should conduct our lives, all of these things. So in direct human understandable language, so it is accessible to everyone. So that is one major difference between Bhagavan and avatar. Bhagavan is only accessible to some highly elevated people who can meditate, who can just close their eyes and see Bhagavan. And for other people, they have to rely on idol or image or a drawing or something to see Bhagavan in its full glory, with all the symbolism, all the 4 hands, 5 heads, whatever, right? Whatever symbolism is associated. But avatar is accessible to all. We can, those who were at that time present on the planet, they could directly see, communicate with them, ask their doubts. Like Arjuna asked a lot of doubts to Krishna. Lakshman asks a lot of doubt to Sri Ram. So they could directly ask their questions to the avatar. And those who are not present, they can read from what they said as part of the history. So Ramayana and Mahabharata are historical books. So as part of the history, we can read what they taught. So that is the main difference, the accessibility. Avatars are easily accessible to even normal people. Bhagavan is not that accessible until in the next part, we will discuss about how you can create a connection, how each one of us can create a connection with Bhagavan. But for the most part, for general people, if they don't understand the process of worship, the process of all the related aspects of rituals, then it's not very accessible to everyone. That is the main difference.
Okay, thanks. Thank you very much. It was very
no problem. Thank you. Thank you for your question, and thank you everyone for joining. I am glad that you all had a good experience. I know that this was a longer session than usual, but hope you gained some insight into the Bhakti mark, the way Indians understand the existence of the Supreme, and how Indians have made it accessible to every single person on the planet through the 4 different levels of understanding. You know, it is just like somebody who is living in India. For example, I'm taking the example of my country. Somebody who is living in India knows in and out about the country. So for them, it is all different. Jammu Kashmir is different, West Bengal is different, Punjab is different, Haryana is different, everything. This is the situation of us seekers. For us, all this differentiation happen. Brahman, Ishvara, Bhagavan, Avatar. For us, all of this is there. But for somebody who is living in US, for them, India is India. They don't know what is what inside India. The whole of India is one. For some, even the whole of Asia is one, right? The same way, from the Bhagavan's standpoint, this is all, everything is him, everything is it, you know. There is no Ishvara, there is no Bhagavan, there is no avatar from the Brahman's standpoint. But from our standpoint, we cannot directly reach the Brahman. So from our standpoint, we have to gradually think of the supreme reality, and then we slowly, first we start with the form and the attributes, slowly we dissolve the form and then we reach to a place where only attribute is there, and then we slowly dissolve the attribute also, and we reach to the final Brahman. So yes, bhakti is the easiest path if you know what is bhakti, if you know what are the rituals associated with it, which we will be discussing in our next session, and you will understand why there are so many people on the path of bhakti in India. Because it is the easiest. Most people you see in the country do not meditate, but they are not less spiritual than any of us. They are into the path of bhakti, most of them. That is why ISKCON, the International Society of Krishna Consciousness, has all of a sudden become that popular, because it is the path of bhakti, and everybody find it so easy. Easily people connect with ISKCON. So we will understand what is bhakti in the next session, and we will understand some things that we can do by ourselves at our home, the science of puja, what is puja and what is worship, how it is different from prarthana or prayer. In Hindi there are two words, puja and prarthana. So a lot of people, when they talk of worship, they think of prarthana, which is prayer. So worship is not prayer in Indian context. So what is the difference? What we should do? Should we do prayer or should we do worship? All of this we will understand, if time permits, in the next session. Hope you all like this explanation, and we can have some practical aspects of bhakti mark. This was just the cosmological part, but we can discuss some practical things that we can do if we want to inculcate devotion in our heart, how it happens. Okay, then at this point I will close the session. Thank you everyone for joining. Have a nice day.